Well, hello, boat building fans. It's me again. I guess it's been a minute since we've had a chance to do a long format video. Um, Mother Nature's been a real biatch this year, trying to knock the crap out of my project, and my better half's on the disabled list again. So I'm having to pick up the slack around the house, doing the cleaning, the cooking, the dishes, scooping litter boxes, feeding little furry overlords that live in our house. Or sorry, we live in their house. Anyways, I managed to get out here this week and puttered around with some of the electrics and got some wiring. And with the help of my buddy Al, we managed to get the 127-pound battery and the battery box so we can begin this whole process of wiring up. So this video is sort of a mishmash, and there's a big chunk of it missing where I screwed all those components on the board. I don't know where it went, but anyways, I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for sticking with us. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for sticking with us. Let's go see if we can make some sparks.
Starting off our little electrical panel project here in the Fort Peak by attaching the backing board for the electrical equipment to the hull, and I'm using a polyurethane adhesive. One, because it's strong, and two, it doesn't need to be warmed to cure, so that was my only choice at this point in time because it's cold here in Eastern Ontario. This is jumping pretty far ahead. You'll notice there's a whole bunch of stuff attached to the board, and there's a whole bunch of wires attached to that kind of stuff. It's a little bit out of sequence, and I was having issues with my cameras. I kept getting error messages that there was no micro SD card found in the camera, and I knew they were in there, and the only thing I can attribute it to was the cold. So there's a big chunk of work that got done that didn't get filmed, and I apologize for that. For those of you that are familiar with ABYC wiring standards, you'll notice that the wires are color coded, and the same standard applies in Canada to the small vessel construction standards. And currently the yellow conductors here are all ground conductors, and the positive conductors for a 12 volt DC system or 24 or 48 are red and sometimes black, I believe. The main battery cables that are running to the board and the bus bar are 2/0 gauge, and that's pretty heavy, and when it's cold like this they don't move very well. They're stiff as you can imagine. So add a little bit of heat allows me to move them around and make them conform to the shape that I want. And in this case I'm connecting the main negative feed to a shunt. As you can see, I still have to add quite a bit of force to get this thing to move into place where I want it. I cut it to the correct length, and lo and behold, when you go to hook it up, it's a wee bit too long or a wee bit too short. But that's an amateur doing the wiring here. Of course, it doesn't help when you got two hands that are like bear paws. And there you go. It's a good thing it wasn't energized. I've also had to squeeze myself into this tiny little space, which is very uncomfortable and doesn't make the work any easier. This is a new tool I picked up at Harbor Freight. It's a hydraulic lug crimper, and I never used it before. And when I went to use it on the larger 2-aught battery cables, it only went up to 1-aught, so I had to resort to another method to crimp those. But I find it a little bit awkward, but again, it's the first time I've used it, and once I got the hang of it, it actually works pretty good. It's pretty slick. This is the process for crimping on a lug to a cable. I think this is 6-all wire gauge cable. It's pretty slick, it's fast, it's efficient, and it makes very high quality connections. Every lug I put on, I always heat shrink it. That's sort of a standard procedure. And this is a double wall thickness with adhesive lining, so it will make the connection between the lug and the cable essentially waterproof. Just for the record, all of the lugs that I use and crimp-on connectors, etc., are all tinned marine grade, and that's pretty much a no-brainer to help prevent corrosion on any of the electrical connections. This is another little tool that I just acquired. It's available on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. It's for stripping these heavier cables, which I used to do with a little pocket knife, and this maybe will help avoid bloodshed. It works okay. I find it removes a few of the strands of tin copper inside the cable, especially when you pull the shielding free. So I'm a little up in the air about whether it's any good or not, but anyways, I used it. When you're crimping lugs on heavier cable like this, it's important that you mark the orientation for the lugs where you want them to land on the post, because once you get them crimped on, you can't change them, you can't twist the cable very much. Anyways, you can heat it up a little bit and get a little bit of movement, but usually it's not enough. As I'm recording these voiceovers, it's Saturday, March 29th, and we're in the midst of a huge huge early spring storm that's bringing rain, freezing rain, and lots of snow. For some reason, I woke up at 1 o'clock this morning and I noticed the power was out. I jumped on the weather network and the local hydro websites and found that a pole had already been brought down just about 100 meters from where we live. So luckily they said they would have it restored by 1:30 in the morning, and they did. So here I am recording your voiceovers. I can see now that I've used this tool a few times that it would be very handy if it was mounted on a workbench or something, because you really need 3 hands to operate it efficiently. And I tried it a few different ways, and I never really did find one optimum position to do it by hand. The 2 little bus bars, one that I'm connecting up to the ground right now, will supply constant power to a few items that will run off this battery. They're intermittent loads. One of them is the washdown pump, and the other one is the shower sump, and they don't get used that often, so they can run off of this 12-volt battery that's mounted in the forward end of the boat. In this sequence here, you can see some of the wiring and other pieces of equipment that I've installed. This is the block for the large ATC fuse that will protect all the wiring, as well as the battery charger on the right. And you can also notice in the lower left hand corner the wires are run to the bow thruster. The battery charger is an Iota Engineering DLQ4 smart battery charger. I've had this one for a while, and I've used it on our RV, and I used it on our previous boat. And I'm using it here because I do have a Pro Mariner that was originally intended to go in, but it's too big. So the old reliable Iota goes into place. These are great chargers. They're used by a lot of ham radio operators because they produce very little electromagnetic noise, and they're easy to hook up, easy to maintain, and they're just brilliant. This is just connecting up the ground connection from the battery charger to the panel. You can hear a little bit of grunting and groaning going on. I often refer to this activity as boat yoga. The space isn't very large. I've constantly got to watch my head, banging it on the deck head. Constantly having to step over the bunk panel, and I'm laying on my fat gut, which doesn't help a whole lot. I noticed there was a wee bit of a spark came from the connections when I hooked it up, so I'm just checking the voltages, and there must be a capacitor or something inside the battery charger. Here I'm hooking up an 8-gauge wire. It's connected to the battery charger, and it's for bonding, and this will ensure that if there's any straight current generated when the battery charger is plugged in and operating, that it doesn't lead to corrosion inside the boat or corrosion of any of the connections. And more, we'll do a lot more on bonding later. I like to use some Velcro wraps while I'm getting all this wiring sorted out, and it'll be replaced later with zip ties. Hooray, this is probably the first connection I've made in this whole system without dropping the washer and the nut into the bilge and have to go fishing for it. I do believe there are torque specs for all of these small connections. I don't know what they are, but they're just hand tight for now, and before I actually run some angry pixies through this whole thing, I'll make sure that everything's properly torqued, and I know I have to order some boots to cover the exposed connections and things like that, but that's sort of all down the road just a little ways. I hope you got something out of this, folks. I know it's not overly exciting stuff, but it's important, and you have to consider safety first when you're working with electrics. Even though it's only 12 volts, still there's a lot of energy in that big battery. And if you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving us a like. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. It will help us out a lot. We've had really good growth over the last year, and we'd certainly enjoy having more people coming and viewing our videos and providing feedback. We answer every question that we get, and we reply to every comment, and we certainly like hearing from you. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll try to come up with something that seems relatively intelligent in a response. This little clip here is a bit out of sequence, but this is crimping a ferrule onto the end of the cable that will go into the battery charger, and it uses one of those little screw down thingies to hold it, so you don't actually use a cable lug. So that's it for this week, folks. Hopefully, we will be back on a regular schedule of updates, weekly updates. So, from Lori and I, we hope you're all well, happy, safe, and warm and dry. And cheers, everybody.